It's my distinct pleasure to honor Mr. Jim Posewitz with the National Wildlife Federation 2015 Conservationist of the Year Award. Come on up.
It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life. It's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good.
Thank you very much. Thank you, National Wildlife Federation, and thank you for this evening. And thank you for doing this wonderful thing for a very old guy. My wife and I spent yesterday walking the mall and looking at the monuments and all this and that, and I couldn't help thinking what this town must have been like when America celebrated its first centennial. Year was 1876. And I'm sure fireworks were blowing all over this place. But I lived out, or now live out in the northern plains and in the Rocky Mountains. And the way the West observed that very same day, 1876, that year Montana shipped a record number of buffalo down the Missouri River from Fort Benton, Montana. It was the peak year. 80,000 buffalo hides went out of that one shipping port on the upper Missouri River. Theodore Roosevelt, who eventually endows us with a conservation ethic, was a freshman at Harvard. And Custer and the 7th Cavalry bit the dust at the Little Bighorn, out to defend manifest destiny and our right to keep liquidating the buffalo. Within the next 10 years, TR would kill his first buffalo, have a conservation epiphany, and start us on a nation of restoration and conservation. Within that same time span, those 80,000 a year buffalo shipments would fall to 0. And the 1st Cavalry, unlike the 7th Cavalry that rode out to defend the killing of buffalo, the 1st Cavalry rode into Yellowstone National Park to save the last 30 wild buffalo left alive. In another time perspective, Black Sunday was April 14th, 1935. The Dust Bowl was in high gear. It was called Black Sunday because the northern plains was blowing to the sea. I was a babe of 6 weeks old, living on the west shore of Lake Michigan, and I sucked those Great Plains dust particles into my lungs when I called for a new bottle or a change. George Bird Grinnell sucked the Great Plains dust into his lungs as an invalid living out his final years in New York City. It was the same dust that he had stirred when he hunted buffalo with the Pawnee. I was 11 months old when Franklin Roosevelt called the first North American Wildlife Conference. From that conference came the National Wildlife Federation, the Montana Wildlife Federation. Within a year, the Pittman-Robertson Act. And so when Theodore Roosevelt was president, there were 5,000 elk left in Montana's most remote places. When Franklin Roosevelt pepped things up in the dirty 30s with the first North American Conference and this federation came into existence, that number had tripled to 15,000 elk. Today, there are now over 150,000 elk on the ranges of Montana, and we are in the final phase of getting those buffalo restored, and I want to thank you for that. This Wildlife Federation has done that. And so I am indeed humbled by this award, and thank you very much for that. I shall go in peace. Thank you.